It's just a devastating situation out here. You can feel the weight of it on the entire community as you move through the area. Now, we did just get out of that press conference where we did learn about 30-year-old Austin Smith, who was here at this fire at this barn behind us this morning just after 4 o'clock. That's when officials tell us that there was an explosion at the barn. Smith, they say he's life-threatening injuries, and as you mentioned, he was life-flighted to OHSU. Crews here are still working on the scene, working on hot spots and to make sure it is safe. To get you caught up, this barn fire was reported just after 4 a.m. this morning. According to 911, a 911 call K2 News obtained, flames could be seen from a distance. When crews arrived, the response was quick and quickly escalated to 4 alarms, bringing in agencies all over the area to help. Making things more difficult, crews needed to truck in water because the property, which we have learned is a poultry farm, is in rural St. Paul. Now, tragically, as firefighters were working to knock down the fire, we've learned about that explosion that Austin Smith ultimately lost his life to. Fire officials tell us that he was hurt as a result of that fire.
This community is one of the tightest knit communities that I've ever seen or come across. I've been in public safety for 35 years, and quite honestly, this fire department is one of the finest that I've ever come across. And the members of this fire department are members of the community, and they truly serve this community because they serve their family. And so Austin is a part of that, and is a part of really the history of St. Paul.
Arson investigators were on the scene, but fire officials say it is too soon to tell exactly what caused the fire. Now, they do say that they will be continuing out here to work on hot spots as well as starting their investigation. However, they say that investigation could take a few days. Now, coming up tonight at 5, we've learned a lot more about Austin Smith and the impact he's left here on the St. Paul community. I have more on that side of the story coming up tonight at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, Devin, see, we're in Southeast Portland, where residents and business owners unfortunately say they see a lot of these crashes, and they're just hoping that the city might be doing more.
It's scary a little bit, and we see here quite a bit of it.
Eugene's business is hard to miss on the corner of 92nd and Holgate. It's also in a spot designated as one of 30 high crash corridors in the city. And not even 24 hours ago,
This driver cut the corner because it's congestion. He cut through the parking lot with the trailer behind him, and he just ripped the tree.
Eugene says he's also seen people living on the streets in mental health crisis, causing traffic problems, and he's not surprised by the numbers released today. PBOT says 7 out of 10 pedestrians killed on Portland streets are homeless.
This year, these numbers are just staggering. I mean, they're just really new. This is a level of traffic deaths on our streets among, one identifiable population that we just haven't seen before.
PBOT says the crashes aren't just happening in the high crash zones, they're also happening in industrial and remote areas. Dylan Rivera with PBOT says the pandemic has had a lot to do with the increase, but driver awareness remains paramount.
We often find that that human behavior is really the factor behind a lot of these crashes, and so we need everyone to be safe and take care. Look out for everyone, biking and walking especially.
Eugene says he'd like to see more from the city.
They ended up putting just some plaques around the intersection, and that's just not enough. It is a sad story, and no one should lose their life, especially homeless people.
We did reach out to Portland Police tonight to find out what their plan is for traffic enforcement for this year. We did not hear back, but we will continue to press them for answers.
I don't even know where to start.
Deirdre Jennings is exhausted. The North Portland mother says she can't sleep at night because of what's happening right behind her home along the Peninsula Crossing Trail.
The other night, I had a guy standing behind my fence screaming that he's going to murder people. How do you react to that? And we called 911, but nothing came of it.
Along with the screaming, Jennings says she deals with screeching tires night and day.
We have built that's one good example of what goes on in our street. racing down our street.
That was out front while we were interviewing her. This is what happened when we went out back. A driver peeling out in the mud, revving the engine and then speeding around tents and down the path. Jennings and her husband have tried to keep cars out with rocks and plastic fencing, but it's not working.
This is not safe. People can't ride their bikes down that trail. Kids and families, there's no way anyone would enter that area anymore.
Gunshots are another danger. Jennings and her neighbors tell us it happens so often, they've stopped calling 911.
Boom, 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 boom. Right back here. My neighbor said she thought that her house was going to get hit. I mean, that's how close it was. It was just right by the Belmont goats.
Come on, Mills. Come on.
Portland's famous Belmont goats live right along the trail. Cindy Stockton is one of 10 volunteers who take care of the goats and the property.
We feed them, give them clean water, walk the perimeter to make sure there's no garbage or anything that will harm them.
Stockton is worried about the animals. There have been several fires nearby, putting their pasture and structures at risk. She regularly finds trash, food, and feces near the fence where the goats graze.
My heart goes out to people. I think our system is broken. These people are not choosing to live like this. Ultimately, nobody wakes up and goes, I think I'll be homeless and have to defecate on the street.
You can't go out there and live like you used to.
87-year-old Donna asked us not to show her face. She lives in Minerva Plaza, an affordable housing community just feet away from where tents are set up. Donna says she hardly ever leaves, too scared to go outside.
They're right out there, sleeping right out behind me. But we can hear sometimes gunshots. Guns going off.
Relay Resources, which manages this HUD Section 8 property, sent us an impact report detailing problems connected to the camp, including contractors refusing to come to the site to do repairs because they feel unsafe, residents reporting intimidation, harassment, and threats with guns pointed at them when they report crimes. They listed extensive and ongoing damage to the property, including graffiti, excess garbage, open sewage, and water theft. They're now considering taking steps to eliminate outdoor water faucets after locks were broken. There is no question the city considers this a high-risk camp. Last May, it was used as one of 3 examples of why Portland needed to more aggressively remove encampments. All 4 commissioners and the mayor signed off on the new protocols, and the city did start sweeping more camps. But this one is still here, 8 months later. We reached out to the city to get some answers. The Homelessness and Urban Camping Impact Reduction Team told us the site did reach the criteria for posting some time ago, but also said, we believe there are a number of community stakeholders that have been vocal about their opposition to these camps being removed. We want to take the time to ensure we're working with everyone involved in this site to help ensure a safe process for everyone. A statement, but again, refusing an interview we've repeatedly asked for since last summer. When I pushed for specifics and asked who those stakeholders are, a spokesperson told me, we've just heard that there could be opposition. When I asked how the city was working with everyone involved, the response was, we haven't even started making a plan on how to proceed.
I think we could be communicating a whole lot better.
Multnomah County Commissioner Sushila Jayapal did agree to talk with us. This camp is in her district. She couldn't say much about the way the city's managed it, but she told us she knows people are frustrated by what they're seeing.
I drive the same streets, I walk the same streets that everybody else does. And I understand that it doesn't look as if we're making progress.
Jayapal met with residents in December to talk about the camp, and she says they came up with some solutions that she shared with Portland city leaders.
And I think the city has agreed that they're going to install some gates to prevent that from happening. So it doesn't solve homelessness. But if we can together identify a concrete problem and work together to create some solutions, I think that's progress.
Jayapal told us she's hopeful, touting a progress report the county released last week that showed more than 1,200 people were moved into housing since last July, thanks to the supportive housing services measure approved by voters. And she says many more programs and opportunities are in the pipeline as that money starts to pour in. But how long will it take to get to University Park?
It's like you're in a lawless territory.
Deirdre Jennings says she's losing patience, and for the first time in nearly 20 years, she's thinking about moving.
There are no rich families in this neighborhood, and as our property taxes go up, we look around and we're like, why? What are we paying for? Where are our tax dollars going?